Ladies and gentlemen, babes and dams, welcome to Transitional Spaces with Tanay. Let's have a chat, just you and me. Transitional spaces where you wanna be. Here you can be free, spill tea, and never worry about no negativity. It's gonna be okay. Strong soldiers get tough battles every single day, but we gonna be alright. Cause one thing trans gonna do is put up a fight. You gotta know your rights. Make sure you feel good every day and every single night. Let's kiki, let's talk shit. Whether you're he, she, them, or that bitch. Good and bad, let's cock that tea. Here you can be you and I'ma be me. Let's kiki, let's talk shit. Whether you're he, she, them, or that bitch. Yes, transitional spaces. What? Transitional spaces. Yes, transitional spaces. Welcome to transitional spaces. Yes, transitional spaces. What? Transitional spaces. Yes, transitional spaces. Welcome to transitional spaces.
Hello, and thank you for joining me tonight. I have a very special and important guest, especially at this time in our lives. I'd like to welcome Daniella Carter. You and we have known each other for quite a while now. I don't remember how we met, but I remember explaining to one of the younger dolls, we don't know each other that well. I don't know you, you don't know me, but I do know you only, because I am you. We are each other. I would love to speak about your activism as well as all the laws that are being changed and all the legislation that is now being voted on in our names.
And I always tell you this, like in private, but we'll do it on camera for hell's sake. But it's that what you mean to me is not for me. It is the thing that is guiding me to the next generation of people I hope to inspire and bring them to your history because you paved the way for me to exist, right? So it's like, I'm not waiting to stand on Marsha P. Johnson's shoulders when you're here. You're living. You are the shoulders I can lean on versus always say I have to stand on. When I'm with you, I don't think about the age difference. I think about the commonality, right? And I think about the wisdom because it's something so genuine, so organic, where it's like, this thing I see you, girl. Like, I understand what you do, girl. But here's the gems. And it's that grounding me, right? And so I thank you always, right? This is something this generation needs to see. And so thank you for creating this space.
You're welcome.
Of course. And now to get political. I do think that it is quite scary because for me, when I transitioned at 14 years old, this was before the Laverne Cox and the trans visibility. There wasn't much language accessible, right? Whether it be through the internet, whether it be in our schools. And so for me, I thought that through certain recent social advancements, right? Like through the media visibility, through these protections, we would be giving real opportunities for equitable futures, for quality lives. During the global pandemic, it was the deadliest year on record for transgender people. So when you sit with that, people that are being told, right, to be at home still found a way to go murder people like us. And so when I'm thinking about this political climate and I'm thinking about this movement, right, that they're saying make America great again, America was great at a time for so many people who wanted us living in the shadows and benefited from that. Because the reality is a lot of these conservative men, unfortunately, are having very private relationships with us. And we've had those relationships, regardless of who you are. You know what it's like to have the conservative man love you in the bedroom, but then vote against you. People who are afraid of trans visibility turning into equity, because that equity means it's humanizing us, because we're in all these different workforces. We are doctors. We are lawyers, right? We are EMS. We are the average grocery store worker. And when they saw that we were able to be humanized, they said, wait, we need to make this alien. And I always think back to what Maya Angelou says is that nothing human to me, right, can be alien to me. And so what they want us to think is that we're not human. We're somehow grooming and indoctrinating people into this. The reality is we are a community of people who was pushed out, persevered, and then became the possibility model. Not to say the possibility of surviving, but the possibility of thriving outside of what society wants us to be, which is what they say it's okay. Be the sex worker, Be the homeless gagging girl. Be the girl who needs to beg at my doorstep for acceptance. And we said, no, 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 no.
Not anymore.
I don't need acceptance. I don't need you to see me as human. What I need you to do is respect me in my position, whatever that might be. And so, unfortunately, where we have state legislatures, in particular like Texas, who has now introduced HB 3381, which is aiming, right, to criminalize you for being trans. And what that bill essentially is saying, right, it is felony fraud being trans with a $10,000 fine and up to 2 years in jail.
How would they implement that, you think?
Once the federal government starts maybe potentially overturning and rolling back the protections, right, after this administration, they're like, no, as a conservative state, this will never happen again. You will sit in jail and you will die before you have a civil freedom that allows you to live a quality life, right? And then if we move beyond that, Iowa, right, just remove trans people from their state constitution, right? So civil liberties are literally being stripped in the House. They passed the GOP's, budget plan that is removing Medicaid, okay, for people. And a lot of us, let's be real, know a bunch of girls who depend on state insurance. So when they said, oh, we're going to make it at the federal level to put an age gap on it, oh, they did that. But now they're coming for your insurance. And when they come for your insurance, it'll be very easy to take away, unfortunately, the discrimination protection, regardless of thinking it's a sanctuary city versus a rural city. This is literally a national crisis that we'll see become a global crisis, because what we've done as the most powerful country in the world, we've told them it's okay to target the most vulnerable, the most marginalized. And so if they can strip us of our rights, trust and believe the trickling effect, we'll see other marginalized communities being impacted in the same way, right? Don't tell me to be something that I can't because I'm legislated against. Even for me, somebody who overcame homelessness, somebody who's in college, somebody who's literally been that example for young people, I can't sit here and say it's going to get better tomorrow. But what I can say is, when you find your community, you find your leaders, and you hold them accountable, right? Tomorrow might not be easy, but the day after can be, if you use your voice.
Where are all the allies now? Where are all of our allies?
The allies are exactly where they've always been, within their safety net, within their safe communities. Because see, what they didn't realize, right? Because there was this whole movement, conservative gays for Trump. Bitch, how conservative is it for him to go strip your marriage?
And that's what's on the chopping block next after us.
This is not a June type of celebration only. This is an everyday type of celebration, because standing in my truth and being in my truth is not something that I wait only for June to happen.
Why do you think that, the Democratic Party is off over there having a nap? What are they doing over there?
I think that the Democratic Party is having a hard time becoming a more moderate party, because that was Kamala's unfortunate, in my opinion, as a trans constituent, where she failed. America wanted a strong stance on being anti-trans. When we didn't step up and say, hey, kids aren't being mutilated. And I'm not going to throw stones or shade to the girls who's out here winning. You're doing it. You're showing it. You're in media. You're doing it. Those aren't the girls being impacted.
Right.
So when we move beyond the talking points, allowing Democrats to use us as political pawns, showing Republicans that my humanity isn't just your agenda, right? But that my responsibility as a community leader, as a trans constituent, is to tell my gay brother, now's not the time for you to choose. I'm not waiting for you to show up. I'm demanding you show up. I'm not asking for the lesbians to see me. I'm demanding you show up. Because when the national parks removed, right, a letter from this beautiful community and its acronym, they didn't remove the L. They didn't remove the G. They didn't remove the B. But they knew to remove the T. And the sad part is, there was a community online that celebrated it. And it was our people. It had nothing to do with Black first. I'm talking about queer people. So when queer people are celebrating the erasure of trans people, that means they're not educated about who created the possibility for them to be out and loud. Because baby, no matter how hard you try to erase this T, the T is what helped you live out loud in your G. We gave you your freedoms in your L. And baby, we've all been playing with the B's for years. You know? And so what we know is that it's time for us to be the community that got us here.
What is it that young trans people and gender nonconforming people, what can all of them try to do in this time?
I learned about the corporations that's funding against me. I stopped funding them. To the young people who are questioning what to do now, remember the resiliency of your ancestors. Remember the great icons and civil rights leaders like John Lewis said, it's okay to get in good trouble, right? And Rosa Parks, who refused to move on the bus. It was those women who made people like Marsha P. Johnson understand her power, that gave Ms. Major her power. And to the gay and lesbian brothers and sisters that I don't know about who stood side by side, I thank you too, because they're equally as important. But be surrounded by healing, by support and love, because so many people are feeling broken.
How do we get all the young people and older people who have recently kind of been isolating because of this horrible climate that we are in? How do we get them, to come out and to stand?
So I think one of the things is understanding that there's so many people who really don't understand this, right? They're depending on mainstream media to educate them on our experiences. And so the best education you can offer someone or yourself is by allowing your lived experience to be the guiding light to someone who may be opposing of your identity. And the only way you can do that is by standing in the light and going back into the community. And it's so important that we know the organizations that exist that wants to be of service to us and not exploit us. And there are so many now that are created from people of your generation, right? There is no more depending on these systems that has continued to show they failed us. Find the systems that is working, that is uplifting us, and is being the equitable resources we need.
Now, it appears that we are fighting a losing battle even within the community when the loudest voices are the most influential voices who have all the privilege, like a Caitlyn Jenner, a Flame Monroe, and quite a few others.
So I want to say this to Caitlyn Jenner. If you see this girl who stands at 6'6" with a size 40 shoe and 40 bodyguards, when you get on TV and you say that it's okay to celebrate you on Father's Day, when you get on TV because you were an Olympian as a man who lied to himself and stayed in the closet to build wealth with an entire white privileged family and then think you're speaking on marginalized experiences, I'm sorry, we're beyond I Am Kate where you exploited people to be a sugar daddy. We're at a place where young people are dependent on sports to develop who they are. And they didn't hope to become a grown man and throw metal rods to feel good about themselves at 70 and look down on people. More importantly, when you are as rich as you are, consider this. The problems that we're talking about, you can't experience, relate, or understand because, again, your privilege removed you. So let's start here. Go to the men's bathroom in Mar-a-Lago, but I'm not standing up next to you pissing at a urinal because you're far removed. And so when I need my civil liberties, unfortunately, I'm not starting out with the Kardashian Jenner money. I'm starting out as a Black young trans woman who was pushed out of my home and did everything I could to get the protections I have. So if you want, die old and white. Live behind your gate. But we're beyond your gate. We're living real lives. We don't have a Lamborghini. We have city buses. We don't have the chauffeur. We have to work hard for a car. And so if you want to join in on this movement and in this conversation, do that with the privileged people who's in community with you. Because at this point, we don't receive you. We don't celebrate you. We don't honor you. Flame Monroe, I get it. Get your check, girl. You're okay with being considered dad because you have 4 kids to feed. But do you know this much as a person who's married and building my family? I'm not depending on being called dad to not confuse my children. My children will be educated on the fact that I'm a transgender mother, okay? And they will refer to me as their mother. I don't need to reduce my identity down to a social narrative of, oh, don't confuse the kids. Privilege. And to kind of be a little bit more serious too, is because I will say this, as somebody who grew up in the struggle, right? And I'm in my relationship, and I've been told by my husband at different points, right? Like, oh, this isn't our issue. Like, we'll never experience what the girls are going through these days. And you know what I told him to his face? We do experience this. Because when I step outside of my home and I see my sister in the corner, I see my sister in a certain establishment, I don't see her as less than me. I see her as my equal, as my sister. So if she's struggling, I'm struggling. And baby, I'm not letting no white person in this country with privilege convince me, my black ass, that I don't have a responsibility to show up for marginalized community.
What she just said.
It's very true. As Hunter Schafer said it best.
On my new passport. And I was shocked. I was shocked because I don't know. I just didn't think it was actually going to happen.
Y'all don't realize the safety concerns that come with when you're dripping cunt and you got to show up in ID talking about your Bernard Jeffrey. Girl. And all you wanted was a pack of cigarettes. We're not doing that. Like, come on. But know that your privilege is only something meant to be given to someone else and not to be harbored. Because really, privilege is something you have to harbor on to watch other people struggle. Ask yourself, really, what is your humanity? Because you're an empty vessel.
I'd like to thank you for joining me. It has been a pleasure and a joy.
And I just want to repeat this to you. Thank you for showing so many people with literally extending over across the aisle. And when I say across the aisle, it's to see me icon. And I thank you so much for seeing me. And I know that there's so many, not only people in my age group, younger, older, that admire you for who you are, but what you're doing. And if anybody who is younger and out there questioning the possibilities of the future, this is the future. This is your future. You will get through this hard moment. You will find your tribe.